Okay, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Those of you that are not physically in the Zendo, please pop that like button and subscribe to the channel. I've been asked to say it at the beginning, not at the end. God bless. So I was asked to give a talk today. I can start the video over if... Are you concerned about being on the video? No. Okay, then I won't start it over. About this paradox in life, which is what is going well and what needs to change. In my opinion, life is paradox. Not life is a paradox, not life is full of paradox, life is paradox. They are one and the same. For those of us in recovery, we know this because the 12 steps are riddled with paradox. For example, step 1, I'm powerless over ABC, is the step that opens the door to a life of tremendous empowerment. When I admit I'm powerless over people, places, and things that I cannot control, I become very powerful because now I'm focusing on the one thing I can control, which is what?
Myself.
Well, I would argue not myself, but my actions. Because first of all, the self what?
Doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. And second of all, what else? I can't control things about myself. I can't control my impulses, but I can control whether I act on them. I can't control my mood, but I can control whether I act, how I behave, right? I can't control if I have a nightmare, but I can control, do I carry that bad energy into the day or not? Does that make sense to everybody? Mm-hmm. So that is a big paradox. By stopping trying to control, I gain control. Because if I'm running around trying to change everybody else, am I in control? But when I stop doing that, I gain control because now I can do what I need to do. Another example of paradox is that I just said there is no self, or one of you said it. But of course there's a self. There's a bunch of selves sitting in the Zendo looking at me. There's somebody out there watching me, probably my dad. Hello, Father. He's the most ardent watcher of this channel, which I appreciate. But we have a self, obviously. If you need to use the bathroom and I go to the bathroom, you still need to use the bathroom because we are not the same. I just want to tell you well, now you're not. Now you are. If you want to be internet famous, stay there. If not, go somewhere else. This channel is about to blow up. So, if you are hungry and I eat something, you're still hungry. Why? Because, of course, you have a self, I have a self. Nobody wants to pay my tax bill. Tax season is rolling up on us. I don't think. If anyone wants to, please see me after. Because we have a separate self. But our separate self is maintained of all of these non-self elements, like the clothes you wear, the food you eat, the water that comes out of your shower. These are things that you did not create in your omnipotence. So we're all interconnected. The self is made up of a bunch of non-self elements. That's a paradox. Right? You guys all with me so far? Life is paradox? One of the biggest paradoxes, is that I am me, but I'm about to turn 49 on April 10th. Presents gladly accepted. I am me, but I'm not the same me that I was when I turned 48, and certainly not the same me I was when I turned 8. So we have this narrative that we call the self, but all of us are different than we were a year ago. And by the way, another piece of, I don't want to digress too far into the self thing, but if you change the 5 people you're spending time with, your self will change a lot. If you spend time in the next year with 5 criminals, you will likely become a what? Criminal. That's right. It's not a trick question. I just rewatched Breaking Bad, and toward the end of Breaking Bad, Walter's doing all kinds of stuff that he would never have dreamt to do at the beginning, because he's spending time as a criminal with criminals. So it seems perfectly okay to do certain things that as a school teacher he never would have done, right? So, same Walter White at the beginning of Breaking Bad as he is at the end. Is he the same person? Yes and no, right? Paradox. Are you the same you that you were 10 years ago? Yes and no. Does everything in your life need to change? Probably not. Do some things in your life need to change to reach your goals? Probably so. Is everything perfect in this community? I'd say so, right? Probably. Of course not. There's things that can be improved. Does that mean that this place should just get burned to the ground and we should all go home? No, of course not. I say that in a kind of offhand way, but Master Dogen, who was one of the most important figures in our lineage, who lived from the year 1200 to the year 1253, and is widely credited with bringing Zen as we know it from China to Japan. What's interesting is Zen was already in Japan. It's just Dogen wasn't happy with it. He felt it was watered down and political and not the real stuff. So he got on a boat and went to China at a time when going on a boat from Japan to China was not like a sure thing that you were going to make it. And by the way, he did not speak Chinese. So he went over there, learned Chinese, studied with Chinese Zen masters, came back to Japan, and started teaching the real Dharma. Well, what was the problem with that? The problem with that was that the Zen establishment in Japan did not appreciate his hubris. So they burned his temple down. So I kind of offhanded him like, well, should we just burn this place down because it's got a few problems? No, but that happened to Dogen. So then he went out into the forest and he started over. He built a new temple and he started over, and they burned that one down too. The third temple, as far as I know, did not get burned down. I believe it still exists. I think it's called Eheji. Now, Dogen did die at the age of 53, which is, I'm about to turn 49, does not seem very old to me. Perhaps from all the stress. We don't know. But he felt strongly, this is not good enough. We can do better. I'm going to do better. And he paid a price for that. So if there's things in your life that you think can be better, you can improve them, but you will pay a price. The question is the price of not changing them higher than the price of changing them? Probably the price is lower to make the changes, even though it's hard to do that. If there's things you think need to change around here, there's a price to pay. You guys know what the price to pay is?
Money.
Well, no, you're already paying that. If you actually want to affect real change, you have to personally invest in the change. It's not fair to just blame others for all the things that are wrong. You actually have to get involved and make change. And then you have to rope in your confederates and be like, hey guys, if we want this culture to be better, we have to do it together. We're the ones that live here. There's people in this room that live here, and there's people that do not. People that do not obviously have some power and authority and ability to make changes, but really at the end of the day, the people that live here are the ones that have the most power. The culture of this place that's been in its 12th year has ebbed and flowed, and I sat in his chair for 10 years, and I know that you can, as the leader and as the staff, influence it. But really, when the culture has been great or not great, has been completely dependent on the commitment of the student body to make it great or not great. I'm not passing the buck. I'm just saying, if you want to work in collaboration with admin to make it better, you have to personally invest in it getting better, or it will not get better. They'll change something, and then you'll find a new thing to be upset about. That's also true in your family dynamics, by the way. I have a few members of my family that I'm quite annoyed with at the moment. It's not my dad. Hello, Dad. It's not my wife, whom some of you know. She's I. But I have members of the extended family that I'm bothered by, and the easy default, and I do it too. Zen masters get annoyed with their families too. Zen masters are subject to cause and condition the same as everybody else. And by the way, what's the difference between a Zen master and a Zen student?
That thing you're wearing around your neck?
This is actually a Zen sensei rakusu. I don't even have my Zen master rakusu today. Just time. It's time and effort. That's it. I am still a Zen student. I don't stop learning just because I've received Inka Shomei. This practice will lead you to amazing places, but it will not completely end your suffering. It will not do it. This is, by the way, the antithesis of every commercial you've ever seen. Buy this car, you'll be happy and beautiful and drive around with the top down, your wind blowing in the breeze. You'll be happy forever, right? That's kind of the typical commercial. My commercial is, this will not eliminate your suffering, and by the way, you will suffer a lot on the cushion as you become more intimately familiar with the contents of your mind and your heart. But if you do that, your suffering on the whole will go down considerably. However, it will not get eliminated. So I'm annoyed with a couple people, but you know what I've realized? This goes back to the beginning of the conversation. Can I change them? What can I change? I can change my approach. What I expect from them. If I expect them to be dishonest and foolish, then when it happens, I will not be so upset, yes? Right? If I expect them to annoy and disrespect me, I will not be as bothered when it happens, right? It's not a perfect solution, but it does help. And you go, oh, that's right. Fire is hot. Wind moves. Water is wet. Floor hard. Things are of their own nature. Certain people are irritating. Okay. No problem. Right? Mostly problem is in my mind when I'm like, they should not be that way. I can change my approach. I think it's really important to embrace this paradox of focusing on gratitude, what is going well. We have enough to eat. We have clothes on our back. There's many places in the world right now where there could be a drone or a person that could cause great disruption or harm. I'm fairly confident this Zendo will still be standing at the end of this talk. We should be grateful for these things because it's not true for everyone in the world. Be grateful to have encountered the Dharma. Be grateful to have encountered each other, to be able to support each other through this journey. Be grateful for how far we've come. And at the same time, it's important to acknowledge the things that are bothering us and the things that we're trying to work on and try to make better. And here's a really, really easy rubric. If I say to you, you know who really bothers me is Ryan. And he goes, yeah, what's his problem? He thinks he knows everything, right? And I go, yeah, let's get him, right? That's the typical human. Now we're bonded over our mutual disrespect, right? In the Arbinger work, we call it getting in the box with someone. Now we're in the box. We are now colluding with our mutual distaste for another person. It's normal. We all do it. what would be wise is if I were to be like, why is he bothering us so much? And then he goes, well, because he is making policies that are not making our lives better. And I'm like, I wonder if he knows that. And then maybe we go have a conversation with him. Hey, you made this policy, but it's actually making our lives worse. Can we talk about it? That's how you get out of the box, see. But it feels good to be like, let's get him. Or it feels good to just be like, guess what he did today that made me mad? And by the way, my wife and I do this with the family members we're annoyed with. It is a natural human way to bond over your antipathy toward a third party. It's more healthy and productive, and we're trying to shift into this to be like, well, how can we change our approach so that this isn't a constant irritant, right? You can only change your approach. So can we hold that paradox of like things are basically good, things like a 7 or an 8. Let's try to get it to a 9 or a 10. Let's try to make it better. Can we come at it with, man, my ADHD has been causing me to forget some things. I've been doing some harm because of it. I need to tighten that up. Versus making excuses would be one extreme. Or, I'm such a miserable POC, I should just, not even try. Those extremes generally create more suffering. This is why the Buddha taught the middle way. Maezumi Roshi, who came over here in the 1950s, who was actually very similar to Dogen in some respects, my understanding is that he did not speak English when he came over here. And he had already inherited his father's temple. He could have just stayed in Japan and just chilled and had a pretty cushy life. But he felt like there was more to do in America and more need for the Dharma in America. So he came over here. He worked as a gardener at first. He learned English. Eventually founded ZCLA and a number of other prominent practice centers that are still around. Gave Dharma transmission to 12 American students, and he's the progenitor of our American lineage. I never met him, but I feel very close to him nonetheless because of reading his books and working closely with more than one of his Dharma ears. Zoe Jackman, everyone. Anyway, Maezumi Roshi used to say to his students, you are all perfect and complete exactly as you are, which is what the Buddha taught. We are all perfect and complete exactly as we are. You are already enlightened. This practice is not about becoming enlightened, it's about revealing the enlightenment that is already present. But Maezumi Roshi would say, you're perfect and complete exactly as you are, and you could all use a little work. That's the paradox. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Question
about perfection. Would you agree that perfection is like some form of unity as well?
Perfection is what?
Some form of unity.
Is perfection some sort of unity? You mean perfection in what sense?
Well, okay, how about this? Let's say me and Parker are bickering because I think that Diet Coke tastes like ass.
Right.
How are we both simultaneously perfect if we disagree?
Well, two perfect enlightened beings can disagree, can't they?
I don't know, I guess that's where my confusion lies.
Well, I think that's where the term agree to disagree comes from. Two of the people that I've had more conflict in my life than anybody else were my late teacher who just died in November, whom I loved and still love dearly. But he was also like another parent to me, and we would lock horns from time to time. We were very different in many respects. And one of my Dharma heirs, who is a teacher now, Mushin Sensei, who's spent a lot of time here, many of you know him. And this is a question I would often ask myself. If Roshi and I are both enlightened, why are we fighting all the time? If Sensei and I are both enlightened, why are we fighting all the time? Well, because to be enlightened is to recognize your nature. And so his nature and my nature might not always be compatible. Diet Coke does taste like ass to some people, and to others it tastes amazing. Right?
Is enlightenment and perfection the same thing?
Well, it's a good question. I think that enlightenment for me is the absence of a story. So if I'm fully me without a story about it. And is that the same thing as perfection? I don't know. And by the way, it's important to note that here's another, I've talked about Maizumi, who's one of the people that brought Zen from Japan here, and Dogen, who's widely credited with bringing it from China to Japan. So let's talk about Bodhidharma, who brought it from India to China. Bodhidharma said, this is a special transmission outside the scriptures based on your own experience. So Buddhism has tended to be a very document-heavy philosophy over the 2,500 years it's existed. Lots of studying of scripture. Bodhidharma's take on the practice is you sit and you directly experience reality, and that is the essence of the practice, not what you read, not what you hear, not this Dharma talk, your direct experience. So if your direct experience is pain, does that mean that it's not perfect? Is perfection the absence of pain or the absence of trouble? I don't know. All I can tell you is on the first serve, I was up 6-0 yesterday and my partner hit it in the net and I didn't get my golden pickle that I've been striving for ever since I started playing. I've been golden pickled, and I've had my partner do a golden pickle, but I've never done one, and I really wanted one, because that's perfection. You start with the serve, and you never give it up. If you don't play pickleball, you don't know what I'm talking about. But that's perfection. I don't know that we can get perfection in most things in life. We can certainly be fully present with what's happening without a story, though. One other thing that's important to mention, too, which is that we have a saying in Zen, not knowing is most intimate. So if Zen is a special transmission outside the scriptures, then every book you read, every sutra you recite, every Dharma talk you hear, every time you come in there for Dokusan and we talk about koans or whatever, that is all pointing you toward your true nature. Like my teacher definitely revealed my true nature to me through the transmission of the Dharma. I could not have done it on my own. But at the same time, he didn't do the secret code, boop, and now you're awakened. Like I had to do the work. He just guided me on it, right? And not knowing is most intimate. So not knowing what is perfection, not knowing what is enlightenment, not knowing what a paradox is, not knowing what Zen practice is, not knowing whether Diet Coke is good or not. Boy, that saves us a lot of problems. Because when you know something, then you have a fixed position and you have a story. You don't know, anything is possible. And by the way, we are sitting literally, physically right now in anything is possible. You remember when I first brought you over here to look at this building? You remember when I first brought you over? Look at Stacy's eyes. Everyone see that? This building did not look like it does right now. I used to practice in Albuquerque at Hidden Mountain Zen Center, which used to be a crack house. So every now and then we'd be sitting at night and they'd be just very insistent on the door. And someone was always assigned to be the one to go to the door. Hey, man! Like, no, this is a Zen Center now. What's a Zen Center? I need to score, man! Like, that's not what we do. We'd all be sitting in the Zen now. Like, Some people would maintain their composure and other people would be like, you know. But Jitsudo saw the potential of that space and made it into a Zendo. We saw the potential of this space, made it into a Zendo. Anything is possible. Every single person in this room, if you decided you wanted to be a brain surgeon in 7 years, you could be. That's how long it takes to go from 0 to 60 as a brain surgeon is 7 years. I don't particularly want to be a brain surgeon, but I wanted to be a black belt. I wanted to get a master's degree in psychology. I wanted to be happily married and have a kid for a long time. I wanted to become a Zen teacher. I don't think I ever imagined I would become a Roshi, but I did definitely want to become a sensei. You know, now we want to be published authors. Well, our book's coming out in a year. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying, like, if you consistently put energy into something for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, it's going to happen. It just will. So that's another paradox. I know that this is going to happen. I don't know how, and I don't know what the challenges will be, but it is going to happen. That's actually a form of not knowing. That's another paradox. Did I answer your question or confuse you?
Good bit of both.
Good. That's the Zen teacher's job.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Roshi.
Do you know why it's partly my job to confuse you?
So I can maintain a not knowing.
That's exactly right.
Boom.
Exactly right.
He's listening.
I'll go back to my Izumi Roshi. He was once on tour, so different city every night. And one night he was asked, "Is there a God?" He said, "No, no God. Just you, alone on that black cushion." Pretty powerful statement. What's he saying there? Stop looking outside yourself. Next night, different city. Everyone there is different except for his attendant. Roshi, is there a God? Of course there's a God. How could any of this be possible without a God? Why would he give a different answer 2 nights in a row?
Catches attendant off guard.
Might be teaching his attendant a lesson.
They're both true.
They're both true. Could be a different audience, needed different things. Could be that he was just in a different mood. Could be that he's just trying to not have you attached to his words. An ongoing question amongst Daishin Roshi's surviving students are some of his behavior in the last year or 2 of his life. Was it unskillful and revealing some of his weaknesses as a human being? Was it dementia? Or was it designed to be helpful so that we'd be able to move on more easily without him and not have him on this pedestal? Do you guys know what the answer is?
Yes.
Or none of them? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But it's the Zen Master's job to inspire you and make you want to practice and make you believe in yourself, and also to not get too attached to what they're saying. So earlier today, when I walked in the Zendo, someone said, "Oh, is it Wednesday?" Because that is the day we do the Dharma talk. And it wasn't, "Oh no, it's Wednesday. Now I have to listen to him again." So I took that as a good sign. You know, hopefully you want me to come back and do this again, right? So it has to be good enough that you want me to come back. But it can't be so good that now you're attached to my words and you're not experiencing your direct life. My words and your life are not the same thing. It's trying to guide you through your life. But you have to live your life. You have to experience your life. You have to decide, am I going to bring this teaching into my heart? Or is it better for me to let it wash away? Doesn't matter to me. I'll tell you guys one other quick story and then we need to stop. Sakyong Mipam Rinpoche, who's not in our lineage but is a Tibetan teacher, used to be my wife's teacher. Before he lost most of his Sangha because of his bad behavior toward his female students, as he correctly should have. Anyway, he said something very interesting that really stuck with me, which is that I attended a talk that he gave once, and it was one of those like I'm on tour kind of things. We were in Portland, and he was based in Colorado, but anyway, this is when we were living in Portland. So there's all these adoring people who, you know, haven't seen him in years. This one woman, you know, got called on, she had the microphone, and she was crying, and she was like, I'm so sorry, I haven't been practicing enough. I'm so sorry. I just have to tell you this. Can you forgive me? It's like really important to her to like be accountable and come clean to her teacher. I haven't been practicing. And he goes, I don't care. Which seems very cruel when this person's like crying and pouring their heart out. He said, I don't care. He said, I've been practicing a lot. He goes, my life goes better when I practice. Whether you're practicing or not is completely up to you. I've never forgotten that. Yep, that's right. If you practice more, your life will go better. I like to practice because I like my life to go better. Completely up to you whether you want to do that or not. Well, I hope this was helpful. I know we're at our time. If it was helpful, please take it with you. And it's okay, by the way, to refer back to the Dharma talk. Like, hey, remember what we heard about the other day? Da-da-da. I've lived in residential situations where we would like talk about the teachings we'd heard. It's helpful. If it's not helpful, though, may all the oceans of the world wash my words from your ears. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. See you next time.